The number one question I've been getting from realtors, probably 100 times the last 30 days, Steve, my sellers are not reducing their price. How am I going to sell it? They're above market. Well, let's go look at your social media. For the past 4 or 5 months, even 2 days ago, you were saying the prices are going up. This is normalization. They're going up 10%, 15%, 5%. We're at historically low rates. Well, the sellers see that. You can't tell the buyers one story that the prices are going up and then tell the sellers prices are going down. The sellers are looking at your social media. They're looking at what you're saying. So when you're at their kitchen table telling them that the prices are going down, that's not congruent with what you said on social media. They see what's going on. The buyers see what's going on. They see Zillow like this, a bunch of slopes. Zillow has more slopes right now on their price charts than Park City. Tell the same story to buyers and sellers. Talk to you soon.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to your Thursday coaching webinar with Home Advocates. My name's Lee Honish. I'm joined by Fred Solomon. How are you, Fred?
Good morning.
For those of you that are on the call, yesterday the Fed raised the interest rates 3/4 of a basis point, right? A BIP. They went 3/4 of a BIP, Fred.
Yeah.
Basis point. They went 3/4. Now, I got really into this yesterday, and I watched his whole 45-minute with the Q&A in that weird
So did
white room.
I listened to the whole thing. I've never listened to it before in my entire life.
It was compelling, right? It was like watching a car crash. If you didn't watch it, I highly recommend that you should, because here's the thing. He's basing this all on one number, Fred, not jobs. He's looking at one number that is currently at 8.5%. What number is he looking at, Fred?
Well, I think he was talking about CPI, and he wants the Fed to grow at no greater than 2% per year.
And we're at 8.5. Do you know how long that's going to take to turn around at his current rate and speed?
Well, if we're at 8.5 and we need to bring it down to 2, I mean, the Fed, and I've always said this, the Fed comfort zone is between 2 to 4% annual growth. That message, they clearly said 2%.
Yeah, he wants inflation. He wants inflation at a dead set 2%, period. And somebody has to clarify it. They're like, would you stop and take a look? Would you slow it down? Would you change the numbers? He goes, I think we've made it perfectly clear. We want to be at 2%. We're not going to basically stop until we get to 2%. And everybody should be prepared for that. That's really strong, Fred. That's the Fed taking the bull by the horn. But then it brought up things about housing and credit. So for those of you who don't know, going back to what we discussed yesterday, the Steve Hawk statement. So what is everyone in the world seeing, and how does this affect it? And I would like to present some new evidence for the room, and I'm going to share it right now with sound. I have video today. I brought video slides today, Fred. I'm killing it. So here we go.
There was a big imbalance between supply and demand. Housing prices were going up at an unsustainably fast level. So the deceleration in housing prices that we're seeing should help bring sort of prices more closely in line with rents and other housing market fundamentals. And, that's a good thing. For the longer term, what we need is supply and demand to get better aligned so that housing prices go up at a reasonable level, at a reasonable pace, and that people can afford houses again. And I think we probably in the housing market have to go through a correction to get back to that place.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell renewed emphasis.
Okay, so then they talked to the person from Realtor.com, which to me was pretty interesting, but they didn't really break any new ground. Let's talk right here for a quick second, Fred. He's never talked about housing in any of these conversations before, has he?
I can't comment on that because this is the first Fed announcement speech that I have listened to, and I knew this one was an extremely important one to listen to because it was going to dictate what the Fed was going to do with interest rates until the end of the year. I have a lot of stuff to comment about this. Do your thing, and I'm going to read you a post that I wrote this morning based on what I heard in the Fed announcement. So just continue on, and then I have a 3 to 5 minute thing that I wrote that will be very beneficial for people to listen to.
All right, let me get it up on the screen. Is it on your personal timeline?
Yeah.
Cool. I can do that. And of course, you guys should be following Fred anyway. I like doing the screen share thing. Works out well. Usually the first or second person I always search anyway. There we go. Picking their loan. Mortgage loan officer.
First one.
This one?
Yeah, part of being a great loan officer.
There you go.
Just
go for it.
Click on it.
Yep.
Click on see more.
Yep.
Okay.
What's up?
All right. So I just told a story what happened with one of my clients. And so I'll just summarize it here because you guys can all read this, but basically the client had some questions about some disclosures, and we should have locked in the loan on Friday of last week. But because what I was telling them and what they were reading by these lenders that send out information, it was contradictory, even though they trusted me. So Monday, the rates go up to 6.5%. And I'm like, sorry, guys, we didn't lock in on Friday. We should have locked in, but they had questions, blah, blah, blah. So Tuesday comes around, right? And the rates go up another 1/8 of a point to 6.625. And I'm like, oh no, this is not good. And 1/4% was $110 a month higher than what it would have been last Friday, right? So I said, you know what? I would wait to see what the Fed announcement is. And this is what I told him on Tuesday, and listen to the words that the Fed chairman speaks from his mouth, which will definitely up the derivative of interest rates after he's done speaking. A few articles online, CNBC on Tuesday, and it appeared that the Fed chairman was going to have a stern approach, and that if inflation is under control, that if inflation isn't under control, that the Fed is going to raise first there, but go up. Whatever the Fed chairman says, Jerome Powell. And then what happens? Oh my God! Went home with the sheet and I was just reading the article out loud to my client, and then sure enough, right after the Fed chairman spoke, what happened to rates? They went up to 6.75%. Now we're talking 6.375 on Friday. Today they're at 6.75, and these are zero cost loans. But the point was, is that I was reading information to help this guy make a smart, intelligent decision when to lock in his loan, because that's what the clients do. They say, okay, they know that I'm competitive. The most important thing is to know when to lock in rate, because that gives the clients confidence. Remember everything that we did to lock in the rate when we did it, and the information that I gave him to give him data that was going on. This is the morning of, this was yesterday morning, we locked in the loan. And we knew the Fed was going to raise the rates 0.75%. But just because the Fed raises the rates 0.75%, that doesn't mean that long-term interest rates are going to go up. It's based on the words that come out of the Fed chairman's mouth. And I told my client, you know, if the Fed says something like this, you know, Fred, or, you know, not Fred, but he's not going to talk to me. I was just trying.
You don't know. You could bump into him, Fred. I mean, that could happen. You could, it could happen. I mean, I believe he might play golf and he might be in Palm Springs someday. It could happen. He could yell something like, play on, play on. I don't think he'd have any conversation about the rape, but
that's funny. So what I said was, if the Fed's chairman says, you know what, we're going to raise darn interest rates until we get this inflation under control. If the Fed chairman says something like that, rates are definitely going to go up. If the Fed, we're kind of in a wait and hold pattern right now. You know, we're going to raise them 0.75% today, but you know what? We're going to kind of wait and see how the economy reacts. We know that's a 6-month lag time. Whatever we do today, the economy takes 6 months before it reacts to our raising of the interest rate. So if for some reason rate inflation isn't under 30%, we're just you know, obviously look at the data at that time. Well, if
that's not what he said.
Like that, well, I know, but
you went the opposite direction of, we're going to keep doing it and maybe we can address this next year.
Right. That's exactly what he said. And I told my client, I go, remember what I said? And I told my client, I said, well, he spoke aggressively. And then I told my client interest rates went up to 6.75. And he just sent me a text back that said, high five, you know, because we guessed right. But yeah. I don't always guess right. I was just proud that exactly what I said happened and it was spot on. And I'm not always right. I'm not claiming to be always right. No, I've been wrong many times, but I just gave him the reasons why it would go up and the reasons why it would not go up. And reason why it went up was exactly the reason that I told him it was going to go up. And so that's the important thing of dealing with a sophisticated, not too many loan officers understand that if the Fed chairman says this or that it's going to affect interest rates, and why the rates would have gone up and why the rates would have gone down. And then I told him in the end, hey, look, it really doesn't matter, because if we are in a recession and the rates do come down, I'm not saying they're going to, but if the economy starts losing jobs, stuff like that, and the rates come down, we got a program that allows you to refinance to the lower rate and not pay any closing costs. So I give them peace of mind if the rates happen to come down. And you know, Lee's saying 7%. Well, guess what? Today we're at 6.75%. It's the highest in 14 years. And Lee, when he said 7%, this is another reason why I'm explaining this long Facebook post, that Lee is freaking spot on again. It's unbelievable.
Would you like Derek's quote about me? And I think he had one of the greatest quotes of all time. He goes, It's not irritating that you're right. It's the frequency at which you're right.
Yeah.
He goes, because most of the time it sounds crazy coming out of your mouth. And he goes, and then you're right. I go, to me, well, what I didn't foresee was the complete backlash that's now occurring in the past 24 hours. If you guys don't know, here's another quick update. Jamie Dimon yesterday insanely went in front of Congress. And guess what he asked for? Anyone know? He wants him to cut down the restrictions on the Frank Dodd Act. He goes, did a great job. Kept us from making shaky loans, but I think it's gone too far and I think it's time to ease up. Well, that's a coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
Jamie Dimon has a lot of stroke, and he sat in front of Congress yesterday. First of all, told them, you guys should prepare for the worst. That's what this particular section's all about. I really recommend everybody go and watch Jamie Dimon and Congress. By the way, Jamie Dimon a year ago was not saying to prepare for the worst. There is nobody a year ago in any of these positions making any of these claims. Maybe the Fed was thinking about, yeah, we got to do, they were using cute terms like QE3, QE4, and we're going to do this quantitative easing thing and we'll get the money back down and stop printing. But now it's about, I'm going to stop buying mortgage-backed securities. Now it's about Jamie Dimon asking for Frank Dodd Act to be lifted. For what purpose? Because the Fed's not going to buy your mortgage-backed securities anymore, and you guys are looking for the happy squeeze again? I mean, like, what's the outcome here? And if you don't think it's not about JP Morgan Chase making unbelievably sketchy loans and selling them to unbelievably sketchy places, and he talks about it. He goes, yeah, and it's kept us from other Lehman Brother type events, and it'll never happen again, blah, 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 but it's gone on long enough. Woof. Okay. The next big fallout right after this occurred, and I'm happy to play this for everybody.
Two tech giants are reportedly cutting staff with growth now slowing down. The Wall Street Journal reports Google and Facebook's parent Meta are both looking to slash costs. They're
Gee, how shocking that is right after the Fed announcement, Fred.
Yeah. Well, they have to have good timing. And
oh, yeah.
I'm sure they're looking for what the direction of the Fed is going to do, which is going to cause layoffs at companies. And they want layoffs. It's looking like they're predicting that unemployment is going to go up to 4.4% next year, which would require the economy to have layoffs. So
unbelievable.
The words that come out of the Fed chairman's mouth are looking at the future, but also they are very careful with what they say because they know the investors are listening closely, and the people who have the money are the ones that buy bonds and the treasuries.
Yep.
And the people who are buying bonds and treasuries, based on what the Fed chairman says, they react immediately. It's instantaneous what the traders do based on what the Fed chairman says. So every word that comes out of the Fed chairman's mouth, these traders are so intelligent and they have such good knowledge that they know exactly what the Fed chairman is actually saying, but they fluff it up and they make it, nice and soft and cuddly for the average person listening to them on CNBC. But people like me, people like Lee, people like these, bonds traders and treasury people, they all understand it. And so you heard
this is a massive. This is of all the announcement. This is the most massive backlash almost on an immediate scale. Jamie Dimon was about an hour behind the Fed with Congress. Shortly thereafter, this is this morning, they announced it late last night. Then the one that was the most interesting, if you guys didn't know this, NAR released their numbers yesterday, and
well, we talked about mortgage rates
the perfect
going
storm
up as the Fed continues to click interest rates higher, and the housing market is cooling down in the United States. So today, the National Association of Realtors reported home sales dropped in August, marking the 7th month in a row.
Sales of existing homes were down nearly 0.4% from July. That means the sale of single-family homes, townhomes, condos, and co-ops. That's nearly a 20% drop from a year ago. Stubbornly high prices.
Hold on, she just rolled right over that number, Fred. That's nearly 20% from a year ago. By the way, a year ago, they were talking about another 20% increase. Were they not? This time last summer? Like it would never end. The party was never going to end.
Well,
We actually dropped.
Zillow said 11%. So, but yeah, I get it.
Unbelievable. From one man's speech, Fred, from one man's speech.
Well, he's got a lot of clout. He's got a lot of clout.
I'm extremely interested in the Jamie Dimon thing. The Jamie Dimon thing is, I don't know if he's going to be able to talk them out of repealing Frank Dodd or amending Frank Dodd so that they have the ability to, I don't want to get into collateralized pools of money and tranches and selling. They're terrified because the Fed has said they don't want to buy any more, that they're not going to buy mortgage back. They're going to start selling their mortgage backed securities. What's that mean for real estate from your perspective?
Well, I was just listening to what the Fed chairman was saying, and he's saying reset, but he's not, saying an exact figure on the reset. He was just saying reset. So when they say reset, we don't know how much the prices are going to come down. We know they're coming down, that's for sure, because it is inevitable if you keep raising interest rates. Sale volume is down 20% and rates are going up. It gets into the minds of buyers who are currently looking as we speak. And, when I go do my open house this Sunday, the first thing that I'm going to tell people is they just raised interest rates. They're going to do it at least 3 more times this year. So if you're thinking about buying and you're not paying cash and you're going to finance it, when should you buy? Before or after interest rates go up? And of course, I'm going to be gentle with the way I explain that, but that's the gist of what I'm going to say. So I'm going to tell them whether you buy this house or another house, these are the things you have to consider. And people are going to say to themselves, well, I'm just going to wait for prices to come down. And I think you're right. You should if you're paying cash. But what's going to cause the prices to come down? Higher rates.
Right.
So do you take the guarantee now before they raise the rates anymore? Or do you wait for them to raise the interest rates and home prices drop? So that's when I pull out a little article that I wrote, and it was called The Cost of Waiting. And basically, I analyzed a house at 550 and one at 500, and I raised the interest rates 1.5%. And then I looked at the monthly payment with the lower price and higher interest rate versus the higher price and lower interest rate. And I said to them, look at the payment difference. And then I also asked him, what are you doing right now? Are you paying rent? And then if you're paying rent and you're not getting a mortgage interest write-off, then that's another problem, because ownership means you get to write off the interest up to $750,000. But if you don't own and you don't have a small business inside of your house and you don't take a small business write-off deduction because you have a small business inside of your home, and you can write that portion of the square footage that you use of your home as a write-off, you don't have that and you're just paying rent, then you got to make a smart choice, because renting is throwing your money away, and then owning, you get the interest write-off. So you just explain those things in a nice way. Generally speaking, that's way too technical for people at an open house. But the ones that call me from the open house, these are the conversations that I have with them. And it's just all about educating them. And when you educate them, what happens to your trust level? It increases. And the way that you establish trust is by educating them with common sense stuff. And these are,
yes,
depending on how technical they are, a lot of people, this is way over their head, like they don't even understand it. But if I get a guy who's kind of smart, I'll click with him real fast.
Yep. And we go back to what we talked about a few weeks ago, much like on Lori's property. Seller is offering up to $15,000 for buyer's interest rate buy down or for buyer's closing costs. You're going to have your sellers are going to have to make concession. They are. And the news is going to push them that way. They should be more. If you got something that's been on the market longer than 60 days, clearly the price is out of whack. So you better be willing to bring something else to the table. I mean, that's extremely realistic at this point and has to be discussed. I don't know if I'd want to be a selling agent. I'd rather be a buyer's agent right now, to be perfectly honest, which is why we focused on it so heavily and working on those funnels. It is certainly, based on all this information, the reason we're shooting the red videos the way that we are this week, for sure. And for those that don't get them done this week, the news is literally what it appears to be. Jamie Dimon wants less restrictive lending. Tech companies, which were supposed to be bulletproof, are suddenly now asking, telling everybody that they're going to lay off. The Fed itself is saying that they're not going to back off. Oh, and by the way, we're down for the 7th straight month in home sales. It's a perfect storm. Now, the question is, what's the positive spin going into November? And that's what you have to combat on a marketing perspective. I mean, that's where it gets really interesting to me. And one of these, and I don't know which one that I watched, they pulled up the data on all of the home builders, all of the publicly traded companies, Compass, all the way down. There is not one single real estate publicly traded company that's making money at the moment. They are all on a downslide. Period. Somebody asked me yesterday about EXP and what I thought. I go, I don't have a problem with EXP, but it requires that you do real estate. It is a publicly traded company that their product is people selling real estate. And if nobody's selling real estate, that stock is going to plummet. And part of the allure of EXP is being in that stock program. Well, you've lost basically $20 a share since the beginning of the year. I mean, I'm not saying it's time to bail out of the boat. I'm sure they can start another country and find more people and do real estate somewhere else and keep getting enough real estate agents with that overall. That's the broker model, right? Get 300 agents. At least I know I can get 40 or 50 transactions per month out of 300 or 400 agents. That's the way traditional real estate's run. That's how a Keller Williams is run. But they're not publicly traded companies. When you do it on a scale where it's dictated by the Fed, where there's a lot happening here, Fred. Especially if you're going to put out marketing, or you've got to put out, something as simple as a website, right? I got to look at that. I gotta bring something special to the table. I've got to do a little bit more to sell this property. My seller has to become realistic about lowering the price or giving an incentive, something. They cannot be living in this. They cannot be living in the world of everything will be just great. Everything will be great, and this is just a gully, right? To quote The Big Short, it's a gully, Fred. My new favorite is this will all be over by Q1 or Q2 of next year. Really? It's based on inflation. Inflation's at 8.5%, and you're good with Google and Facebook, two of the largest companies on the planet, is starting its first round of layoffs. That's a lot of writing on the wall, Fred. It's a canary in the coal mine, as they say. They're all buckling down.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
This is bordering a economy that is going to wipe out half of the business that's out there.
Oh yeah, the interest rate by itself. The interest rate.
Well, if mortgage companies don't go into massive layoffs now after what the Fed chairman said yesterday, and they already have been, but
right.
If they don't get rid of people now, oh my God, I am so glad that I don't have 40 employees again. I am
you'd actually have to have the uncomfortable talk. And again, let's talk about Wells and what they did a few months ago by laying off senior executives in the loan origination group long before this happened. This was almost about a month ago. I think we talked about it 3 or 4 weeks ago. There were 4 stories about Wells being first again, going, your salaries are too much. We'd rather have call center people at this point. And as I recall, Fred, once we brought this up a week ago, you said, well, now they'll be inexperienced. And now doesn't Wells look like frickin' geniuses yet again after this little moment?
Yeah, well, I said the same thing about Zillow. They're going to look like rock stars. And now, because of the prices coming down, they sold at the right time.
Yep. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. These guys, these companies, which according to the Supreme Court are individual entities, so they are probably gender neutral. These individuals, these companies, are privy to more data than all of us, period. And when you start letting real people who crunch real numbers, who stare at spreadsheets all day, start to go, there's something incredibly wrong. And if the Fed raises the rate 3/4 of the point and or is aggressive based on the trends that we're seeing, here's where it's going to go. It's not rocket science to understand how asset management works. And my father had once told me that at their core, every CEO or every senior exec gets into a mindset of take what money you can and cut your losses at a certain point, no matter who it is, CEO on down, senior level. He goes, I've sat in those meetings for years. I go, yeah, I've sat in those meetings for years. At some point, they get into this cut and survive mode of let's cash out and sit on our hands and wait out the storm. Sell whatever we can sell to generate money, and reduces our risk of liability. Okay. Everybody's talking about zero. Here's the other one: zero fee, no cost. What zero down loans are back, Fred? Who the hell is cutting a no down loan?
Well, it's an FHA loan. It's called the Chenoa, and basically you get down payment assistance money, and that money is forgivable if you own the home for a certain period of time. But on FHA, it's only 3.5%, remember?
Right.
So all they're doing is basically giving you a silent second for 3.5%. So
we brought back the infamous City Second program just on a federal scale.
Except it's silent, and there's some rules associated with it. You know, I can get anybody the rules that are interested in knowing about it. It is popular, and someone asked a while back, I forget who it was, maybe Marvin or Jim Cooper, I can't remember, but they were asking about the new program for Hispanics and Blacks that Bank of America was doing. And I had researched it and learned a lot about it. So anyways, I also have that information, and I saved it somewhere. Here it is. No, is it? No, here it is. B of A launches incentives home ownership in Black and Brown communities. So it's basically for first-time home buyers, and all these programs that I'm talking about, these 100% down payment assistance programs, Chenoa and all these, they're all first-time home buyer programs, and they all have income limitations as well. So you can't make above a certain amount of money in order to qualify for these programs. So basically, it's a new program. They're doing it at B of A, and I have information about it for those who are interested.
Quickly, Fred.
But they're only rolling it out in certain cities. I want this.
Well, of course, they've got to test it first. They've got to, everything has to test. And usually it's a place like Phoenix or Vegas or obscure Ohio or Texas.
Oh, they're doing LA. They're doing it in LA.
Okay. Good spot.
Yeah.
Good spot. That's a rarity. Lori wants to know, Fred, would you be willing to share the cost of waiting with the coaching students? Great title, by the way. I am looking for sample numbers to share with buyers on 2-1 buy downs, etc.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. She's been asking me, and I haven't gotten to that. I need to do that for her. So I will help her. Today I got to get, I have a bunch of appointments. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'm just catching up on messages. Good info and comments from you guys. Antonio, if the bank will lay off people, I'm sure real estate teams that way overspend on their marketing will probably get rid of their agents. If somebody in a real estate office right now is making an hourly salary and not a commission of any kind, we're back to what I said. Your brokers don't give a crap about you. If you're paying your broker to be in that office, right, either commission-based or you're paying a monthly desk fee, you're fine. You're not going to go anywhere. They'll be happy to take your money, and or anything you do, it doesn't cost them a dime. They're completely okay with it. If you're somebody who's getting an hourly rate, that type setup, if you are an hourly employee, look for offices. If people went back to offices, look for offices to shut down, to cut down overhead in real estate. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen with, the top 5% agents. It's not happening at Hawks. It's not happening at Wessel's office. It's, there are certain offices where they won't close, it's not happening at David Bartel's place, but everyone else where they have these massive models, no, you shut down those offices, people can work from home.
Hey, Lee, I just sent you an email. Someone asked for a copy of the article, Stephen Thompson, and there was the cost of waiting. You might want to check your email real quick and do a share screen and show people the article. It's a decent article. You can I wrote it 15 years ago, by the way, but I just wanted people to see. Yeah, it does still apply. Just the price points are higher. That's all. instead of 500, it's 1 million now. Well, depending on where you're at.
That was
But
interesting. Which email address, Fred?
let's see, that lee@honish.io, I think.
Okay, different email. That's the one that Lori patrols, so we know it got to Lori at least. I look at it every once in a while. It's all right. There it is. I got it. It's not that I don't have access to it.
Oh, you just don't look.
Of course I do. Okay, there we go. Let me get that up on the screen. There we go. Hold on. Beep, 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 beep. Do that. And we go here.
It's good that we can do all this stuff. You know, as someone asks a question, we can give them immediate help.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is good marketing. I mean, you've got to. Steve Hawks is exactly right. It is our repeatedly going out on social media, making TikToks about now's the right time to buy your house and have been worth more. You got more equity. Even that video that I was showing you, this video right here, she closes on the, hey, look, you guys are about to lose money, but even it's not going to lose so much. We will still have the highest amount of equity we've ever had in housing. Like she doubled down on it, but she talks about people who bought at the top of the market. She does. She's actually rather aggressive about it.
We haven't built enough homes over the last decade to keep up with the number of households.
Everything's about supply and demand still. That's a realtor
homeowner vacancy rates. We see that.
Can I just say this? That realtor myth of supply and demand is complete horse crap. This whole market is based on that stupid interest rate. Everything that has happened is about the interest rate. We gave money away for free. That's it. That's what created the supply and demand. But it's let's put it on the builders. They didn't build enough houses. Okay.
Relatively short supply in the big picture macro sense. But if you look at the market of homes for sale, we're seeing close to record lows. So there's still plenty of opportunity for builders to build more, but there's plenty of long-term demand. But in the short run,
that question, and the Fed chair said no. We're not even close to thinking about rolling the needles, waiting to hear mortgage-backed securities. And we heard that question, and the Fed chair said no. We're not even close to thinking about rolling those off the balance sheets. Apologies for this being so theoretical, but when that begins, when we begin to sell off our mortgage-backed securities,
this is Realtor.com, chief economist.
The housing sector.
And so as the Fed rolls off mortgage-backed securities, that should mean an increase in mortgage rates unless we see a big surge in other investors stepping in to make those mortgage-backed securities purchases. So my best guess is that that's going to be some upward pressure on mortgage rates, some additional upward pressure when we get to that point.
So let's put a bow on this thing with advice for the homeowner. If you're sitting here watching mortgage rates continue to go up and a slight cooling off to prices, what's your advice?
Slight, Fred.
So mortgages are going up. If you're a homeowner and you want to stay in your home, you're looking at record high levels of equity thanks to those price increases that we've seen. Interestingly, even if we do see a correction or even a pullback in housing prices of 10 to 20%, that would still put most homeowners, or at least in aggregate, homeowners would still have a record high share of equity. So most homeowners are in a really good position. I think it's important for recent home buyers and those thinking about home buying to make sure they're going in on as strong a financial footing as possible so that they are making decisions that can be sustainable for themselves in the long run. Don't push your budget. Now is not the time to do that in the housing market.
Did she just say not to buy a house, Fred?
That's what she
closed. By the way, this is Realtor.com that used to be owned by the National Association of Realtors. Let's qualify. That's not really.
She's clueless.
She closed with don't buy.
Well, I don't know her educational background. I really don't.
She's the chief economist, Fred. She's the chief economist. Let's assume that she's got at least a business degree.
Okay.
I would like to believe that she would have that.
Is
that not the best?
What I always say. This is what I always say to help buyers with their school of thought when it comes to buying. Let's just say you're buying at the tip of the iceberg, and let's go back to 1990 all over again. At 1990, prices were at the all-time record high at that time. During 90 to 94, prices dropped 30% approximately. I told people if they bought in 1990, and I'm in my early 20s, okay, I'm 22 years old, first getting into the mortgage business, but I didn't have a chief economist background, but this is what I told people because I grew up in real estate, okay? I grew up in it. I saw my dad, you know, you saw your dad. What I always said was really simple. If you own your home for 7 years, historically speaking, even if you buy at the tip of the iceberg, and even if prices come down 30% after you buy it, or 20%, or 10%, or whatever percent you want to throw in there, historically speaking, if you can just weather the storm for 7 years, it's going to be worth the same or more than what you paid for it. The same or more than what you paid for it. If people can get that through their brains when they're looking to buy a house and they have a trigger to buy a house or sell a house, sell at the top of the market, which is now.
And Fred has faded away again.
Announcing it.
There you are.
Oh, sorry.
It happens.
If you're sorry, but whatever it was, if you own your home,
I keep holding on. Hold on. You're having the weird moment again with your Wi-Fi. Are you okay now? You're okay now.
Yeah. So, anyways, this
I will send this out.
Well,
this leads up to what she's talking about. Basically, her answer is, yeah, don't buy. I love how she ends that with that dopey smile of hers. She has cold eyes, says Jim Cooper. I don't know her personally, but the fact that your R's are associated with her and she's the one on the news, even though she's not associated with you, kind of sad. But I mean, again, what's NAR doing for you? They're selling your intellectual properties like realtor.com. What's your broker doing? Cutting back probably right now, trying to figure out ways that don't cost him money if he's smart. He's certainly not giving you the cost of waiting like we are. How's your Wi-Fi, Fred?
Should be hopefully okay.
There you go. Why don't we review the cost of waiting and we'll close out right here.
Okay. Well, basically, I just analyzed what happens if prices drop and interest rates go up. And that's exactly what's happening today, boys and girls. And I just compared the payment difference between the two, and I analyzed 1.5% higher on the rates, and I analyzed a 10% drop. If it was me today, I would do this at a 20% drop, because I see a 20% drop as a very realistic number. And then compare the payments like I've done here. Homeowners insurance, wow, that used to be much lower back in 08. But now the homeowners insurance should be about $150 a month. And the rates are pretty much close to what we were in 2000. I wrote this article in 2008, right? 14
rates
years.
Are right there. Rates are right there.
Yeah, we're right back where we were in 2008.
And probably you are correct. Cost of ownership with the prices are lower and the rates are higher. The prices are going to be lower and the rates will be higher. The rates will be 7.75 or even probably closer to 8 once the prices come back down. I'm not going to be shocked by that.
Yeah. So
this is very realistic. Wow.
Yeah.
The past imitating the future.
Well, that's why I love saving all my stuff, because, you know, these articles always come back, and now is a perfect time. And that's the beauty, you know, we're at 14-year highs on the rates, right? Well, this article was written 14 years ago, and those were the rates back then, 6.25. What are we at today? 6.75. Crazy.
Yeah,
But,
they're just
yeah.
using the same template. We're just rewinding the template to the last crash. They're behaving like we're in a crash. That's what it tells me.
The only thing that I would add to this article is own your home for 7 years. If you own your home for 7 years, it's going to be worth more than what you paid for it, or at least the same. So don't sweat it. There's going to be, you know, just when in the next 7 years of your life, you're going to have some good days, some bad days, some good chapters in your book, some bad chapters in your book. But if you buy real estate, which is what my dad has always taught me, if you buy real estate, historically speaking, over time, God forbid, unless we have a nuclear war or something with, you know, all these crazy countries in Russia, stuff like that. But unless we have a nuclear war or, you know, Hurricane Katrina comes out and wipes out the entire community, besides that, or an earthquake here in Southern California, besides that, if you own real estate and you have equity, get earthquake insurance. That's a number one. And number two, own your home for 7 years. If you have equity, you're going to be okay. It's going to be fine.
I agree.
I mean, 2009, 10, and 11 scared the hell out of all the millennials. But what had happened over the last 2 years, prices went crazy. So it didn't scare them enough, because obviously prices run right back up. And that will happen again, and it will and prices will come down again. So we're just going through a cycle. That's it. It's a cycle. And these are the times where we needed to save money to be able to get through these cycles. But meanwhile, your education to your clients is, it's just a cycle. Don't worry about it. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. But in the end, owning real estate has always been a successful endeavor. And that's how I explain it when I show those articles.
Absolutely. Since we're coming to an end here on a Thursday, I thought I'd let everybody know I'm going to take the time of going through all these videos and probably clip out some of the better, crazier comments that some of these highlight statements, if you would. And
put a highlight reel together so you can just send this out to all your email database. That'd be hilarious.
That's right. Why not? Why wouldn't you?
I would.
And for those that are not in the red program, the red people will have their work with buyer, work with seller, work with people who've missed payments clipped. That'll get clipped on the end, right? But for the rest of the people in the program, hey, here you go. Go make your own video, clip it onto the end. There you go. If you're wondering, ask me about the market. It's not rocket science, but this has all happened in 24 hours. This is a lot of information that will continue to snowball down the hill from a media perspective, right? So the right will push on it and blame Biden because they've got midterms. Biden's side is going to push back and go, we've got a really healthy job market. I don't know what the Fed's talking about. It's your job as somebody looking for buyers and sellers and people who've missed payments to be able to get them through this. And if you can't, again, one of the advantages of being a part of Home Advocates, if you need me or Fred to talk to your clients, Fred likes doing it more than I do, strangely. He especially if they're in California, it's an opportunity for him. But I've always said this, schedule 15 minutes with me. I am more than happy to explain life, the universe, and everything to someone who does not understand what is happening. John, I'm still waiting for a login link to my Home Advocates account. Where do I contact to get access to those? Hold on, John. Let me see what you signed up with. Very simple. John at calhomeeco.com, right? calhomeco.com, right? So if you guys ever lose your login information and you're a part of Home Ad, let me show this. I don't think I've ever showed that. This might be a good way to close it. And since I know that this is going to wind up being a video on Fred's timeline as well as mine, it's a good video. There's a lot of information here. So
yeah, I want to show you
one of the better ones.
I want to show you what the comments are from that Facebook post. And it's just goes to show you.
Yeah, sure. Let me get it back up. Hold on. I'm going to show you, John, how to, and anyone else, I'm going to show you how to get back on that. All right. So Fred did this whole thing and basically looked like a wizard by the rate being at 6.75. Fred had listened to me back before he had to buy me a Ferrari. He looked like a wizard back then locking people in. But, you know,
click on the comments. Click on the comment.
James Bryant. I've listened a few times and made great choices. Thanks, Fred. Testimonial. Oh, wait, there are more previous. All right, Fred. Fred is the master of the zero cost loan. This is from Scott Way. I worked under Fred for 8 years and I learned everything I know from him. We would run spreadsheets up and down to show all the different ways you can save money on a zero cost loan and why it always makes sense. James Bryant, I've listened a few times. There's no replies. Wait, there's still two more. Wait, I got to keep clicking up. All right, so Barbara's a good job. Art Greco. Ooh, Fred did our last refi. I too was scratching my head over the zero cost thing since it did look like a loan had fees. I trusted Fred, and sure enough, he knew what he was talking about. And the end result, as he promised, zero cost. It turned into testimonial space for you.
That's what my point is to doing these types of Facebook posts. You just never know what it's going to turn into. And look at all of this. I don't pay these people to write these things. I mean, a guy that used to work with me, who's very good guy, Scott, and Dave, another guy that worked for me, commented, and then two of my clients commented, and then Barbara, who's part of So I mean, look how nice that is, the things that they say about you without me asking for it, just by me putting up a silly little Facebook post. And it's free testimonials. Where can you get free testimonials? It's not easy.
All right, so let me be devil's advocate. Where do I find a way to contact you easily? Where's a phone number sitting right in front of me?
Yes.
Sorry.
I don't always put my contact info.
I
don't always put my contact info in my posts. You're right. And I do that intentionally. This is just to help people, but I have plenty of.
If that's the case, put it at the very bottom. You don't have, I tend to put all of mine at the very top. I always do. Text help, 858, like I'll put it at the top or I'll put it on the videos. It's prominent on this video, the way I shoot it, to make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of me. But yeah, why not at the bottom? And if that makes you unsettled, Fred, then just do it like you're obeying California state. Here's a tip for anybody. You want to do a post like this? Cool. I got no problems with it, especially if it's getting a result like this. There's no problem with it. Just at the bottom, put your licensing info, Fred, with your phone number. Then it looks like you're just doing good disclosure and you're not jamming your phone number down their throat and you're just obeying California state guidelines.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be here all week. Tip your waitresses.
Well,
that's the easy way to do it. It's what I do with Lori's because I always feel like I'm jamming Lori's contact information on her stuff, right? Especially when I'm running ads. So instead, at the bottom, I will just put her license info, which of course has her phone number and her email. There you go. I'm just, hey, just obeying Nevada state guidelines, people. I don't, I'm not trying, this is not a sales piece. I am a broker and I've got to disclose this information. And I would even go a step further, Fred. I would even do I would seriously do, here's how blatant I am. I would do please note, this information, whatever terminology you want to use, but I am required to put license info, right? And then put your info below it and put that at the very bottom.
Yeah.
This information was designed to help you, but I'm required to put my licensing info, yada, yada, yada. I actually spelled that right first time. That is so not like me. I never get that word right. I can't spell for crap. God bless Microsoft Word and Grammarly. But I would do that. I would never do a piece like this where it suddenly turned into something like this. And since you're too humble to do it, Fred, what is your number for everybody on the call in case they have any questions?
714-403-7334.
403. I'm sorry?
7334.
7334. You should call Fred if you have any questions anywhere in any state about loans. And he will take your call. There you go, Fred. I'll add to your testimonial pile. That's how it's done, kids. Or you can create 2 profiles like I did. I have 2 profiles. I thought I should create a 3rd profile of somebody else. Maybe I'll call him a senator or something. Who knows? But I have 2 Lee Honish profiles. Here's Antonio. It's a great video. Okay, so I'll wrap this all up, and since this will probably go back out, this is our coaching website. To access it, it's really simple. Just type Google Home Advocates. John, scroll down on the page. Make sure your name is on the front page. If you don't see your name on the front page, please let me know. It should be. John, this is the email you used. You were asking, how do you retrieve your information, right? At the top of the page, to access, the Monster product and all the other marketing tools that we have, click on Home Advocates Coaching, which will take you over to our coaching website. You should have a library. Your library will have 3 headings. Platinum, for the Platinum group. You'll have the basic setup, the community group, which is now basically all of these calls as much as I want to do it. And the 3rd is the hub. That's where all the tools are located. Within that hub is the Monster marketing system that we now use that's completely automated. We have videos on tagging. We have first appointments from Gilbert and his first appointment ever using the product. It's completely step-by-step, how to order your leads, what to order on Amazon for the labels. The call center is already paid for with a built-in, the marketing piece is ready to go to download it. I would prefer you guys let me know when you go out to tag so I can keep an eye out to know that if you are out tagging and you don't get a response, I want to know to correct it. And then how to go out and put them up, and your first appointment package as well. So John's question was, what do I do if I can't get onto my site? So I'm going to do an incognito window, and I'm going to Google Home Advocates. No cheating on my part. There it is, page 1 of Google. You don't even have to remember homeadvocates.io. Click on Home Advocates Coaching, right? You click on login. Forgot password, John. Real simple. And it's going to ask you. I'm going to take care of it for you. Type in your email. John, in your email. Why does it say it's not existing in our database? I know for a fact it is, or I wouldn't have it unless I screwed something up. But it should, just like that, and then send recovery info. There you go. Let me know if you got it. I don't know why it said that because you are clearly on the front page of the website, John. So there's no reason for it not to work. It could be because it's in incognito mode. Oof. Did I say that correctly? Incognito mode. But yes, Home Advocates, it's very easy to tell which email you signed up with. These are all your email addresses from when you signed up in the program. So this is also your recovery email as well. And John, right here, there you are. Yeah, that would be the email you signed up with. So it never gets lost. And if that doesn't work, then send me an email at leehonish@yahoo or text me at the number below and I'll take a look at it for you. If you're looking to sign up, you also click on Home Advocates Coaching. And I would say this for anybody watching too, if you don't know this, see where it says Get Started, where you sign up for the program. That's a one-time fee of $19.97, where you get leads and everything else, and you get stuff like what Fred just did. But this video right here is brand new. This was done not too long ago. It's only about 12 minutes long, and it's a walkthrough of the hub, and it's the last update. We're going to do a brand new one next week with Lori because I'm not speaking realtor or realtor, whatever. Seems to piss people off when I get that wrong. I don't speak agent very well. So I'm going to have Lori walk through it with me as well and point out the things you guys need to know about on that site. That'll be fun because I'll be in Utah and I'll be doing it remote. I'll take all my toys with me, so there shouldn't be any drop off while my daughter is off at college, since I'm going to be watching 2 football games. That's about as simple as I can make it. If you have any additional questions, feel free to use the information down below, 858-663-2537. That's my cell phone. Don't call it. Please don't call it. Text me, right? Oh, you did get the email. See, it worked, John. How cool is that? The system works. Kept telling me no. I think it's because I was using an incognito page to make it work, but there you go. Thank you for telling me you got back from tagging this morning, Myra. Terrell and Myra went. Yeah, absolutely. Lee@honish.io. Basically, Lori's pulling leads again this weekend. She's staying in town and working because she's a real estate agent. I am going to be going off to Utah to watch my daughter twirl a flag. And for those of you, I think it was Jen yesterday who brought this up. So I'm just going to gratuitously do this. My God, she made TV, Fred. She made TV. Did you see that post?
I did, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I commented on that.
That's all right. I was going to put it up. I thought it was still running on that. Hey, everyone. Have a good weekend. We'll stay here and answer questions for a couple of minutes for the people that are on the call. For those of you watching the video, Google Home Advocates if you're not a part of the program. We posted this because Fred and I felt that those videos and the information we talked about was you gotta incorporate it. You've really got to be.
You know, today's information and those video clips that you had some really good clips, and you had them dialed in to exactly to the point where they said exactly what we needed to hear as advocates. And I had already listened, and I already know what's going to come out of their mouths before they even speak, which is kind of disgusting because they don't really say it correctly. But again, if all these people were super successful, they would all be multimillionaires and owning businesses and doing what they do best, and that is talking. The problem is they're just not exactly saying it correctly. There's better ways to say the same thing. But, as we know, being in front of an audience or being on the radio or doing whatever we do, you have to perfect your craft, and you got to get comfortable doing the red videos. You got to get comfortable standing in front of a networking group and telling people what you do in order to create a magnet effect. And the magnet effect is you take the paperclip and you pick it up with the magnet, and people get automatically attracted to you because of the knowledge, the passion, and how you say it, and with your confidence. And if you can do that when you're talking to people, they are going to believe what you're saying. And whatever you say something that you know, and say something that you feel strongly about. And I tell people, that are afraid of speaking in front of people or expressing their feelings, think about your kids when they're asking you for something, when they want something, a toy, candy, an ice cream. Do you think they're just going to let up? No, they're going to keep nagging at you.
They're going to look for the angle, and they're going to win.
And they're going to, until you say yes. And so, I don't take that approach personally. I come at it like, hey, here's my information, sleep on it, get back to me if this resonates with you. If it doesn't resonate, then I need to perfect my craft. And that is the words that come out of my mouth, the way I express them, the way they come into someone's ear, and the way someone feels after I'm done explaining it. And it's all feelings and emotions when you talk to people. That's what people, that's the magnet effect.
And that's the adjustment. That's the adjustment for this market, right? I think agents have been relying on the market going in a positive direction, because I'll keep saying it. Your brokers in NAR have been telling you to say that. They've been telling. Here's the part that Steve Hawks missed with his video, and I'll probably include a little clip at the beginning of this whole thing when I cut it all back together. I think I downloaded it, but the part that he's missing about agents saying what they've been saying about the market and having difficulty getting people to reduce or to sell or whatever based on what agents in general have been putting out on social media and their TikToks. They've been told to do that. Agents just don't make that up. That didn't happen in space. It's because NAR sent him a newsletter and told him to say that. Their broker told them to say that. They brought in people who reinforce those messages and tell people repeatedly, instead of watching the market and preparing appropriately. Let's just take an end of the day scenario for the people that shoot videos with me. Let's just do a very basic. Let's just say that nothing comes out of the videos we shoot, okay, which I don't fundamentally believe. I just know how long that funnel takes. You still have an evergreen pile of videos that you have that are based on the downturn of the market. There are videos I've shot months ago with Terrell that still apply today easily. And those are accessible and easy to use. So this is why the internet is great. It's not going anywhere. You can your 2008 piece that we talked about. That's a 2008 piece, Fred, that we're talking about as being germane. Good word, Terrell. Germane today. And so those are things you guys have to keep in mind. This is constantly going to continue. And if you want to be a part of Home Advocates and have access to guaranteed face-to-face appointments, leads, automated call centers, the whole bit, one-time fee, no monthly fee before it all gets adjusted out, when it will, right around Christmas time. Now I know, now I'm back on track and I'm starting to feel it again. The Fed has taken care of the market for me. They're actually putting gasoline on the market and taking care of it. What I was wondering was, why are we ripping the Band-Aid off so slowly? And apparently the Fed is having no part of that, and they intend to pull the Band-Aid off for everybody. And we're going to find out what the bottom is. We're going to find out why Michael Burry sold 98% of his holdings just a few weeks ago. He looks like a freaking genius right now, selling 98% of his holdings.
Well, here's what I think for the advocates that are tagging. If any of them have purchased the home within the last 18 months, 12 to 18 months, and they are in default, those are short sales. Or,
Yep.
I mean, that's what's going to happen.
And short sales are back. And by the way, we will work out processing your short sales here. We have all those tools. We had them a year ago. We were the largest short sale provider. We still technically are, but there aren't too many companies that do them. So if you have short sales or short sale information, use the information, text me. We'll get it taken care of for you. We've got people already in place, people that I have talked to, people that will take care of it. So with all of that said,
John,
I'm going to,
John,
yeah, I know. We'll get right back to it. So please just Google Home Advocates, click on Home Advocates Coaching, click on Get Started, watch the video, sign up. And I look forward to having you on next week's calls.